Welcome back to the Pretty Well podcast. I'm Lisa Smith, and today I'm going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart, something that I have experienced, and it is traumatic. Today I'm going to be talking with you about hair loss, why it happens, what you can do about it. There is no doubt that all of us want a beautiful full head of hair. And it's something that more people struggle with than we think. We tend to think about in terms of male pattern baldness. Well, his grandfather was bald and then he was bald. But what I learned as I was putting together my research for today's program is that hair loss affects up to 40% of women. And it tends to hit us when other things are going downhill too, either during very stressful times or during times of pretty massive hormonal change like midlife, perimenopause, menopause, where we're already struggling with so many other things. And it can be very upsetting. I know the pain of it. Anyone who's been listening for a little while knows that we made a pretty big move from Pennsylvania to South Carolina. It's a dream move. I'm thrilled about it. But just because something is exciting and wonderful in your dream doesn't mean it comes without a lot of stress. You can imagine we've all had massive life changes at one time or another. And even if it's an exciting life change, it still impacts us and takes a toll on your body, your mind, your spirit, and your hair. I am here to tell you it definitely started taking a huge toll on my hair. I went through this one other time in my life when I went undiagnosed with Hashimoto's for a year. I don't recommend that. That is the worst. That is misery. At that time, which was 19 years ago, I would wash my hair in the shower and I would get handfuls of hair. Just handfuls would come out, and it was so scary. My hair is already not thick, it's fine. So when I start losing handfuls, it becomes noticeable to me that my ponytail is shrinking down to nothing and that my hair is getting so thin. And that was super stressful 19 years ago. But soon after I moved here, maybe 3 months into the transition here, I started noticing the same thing happening where I would shower my hair or brush my hair or just be getting ready and handfuls of hair multiple times a day. I kept thinking to myself, this is not sustainable. If I'm losing this amount of hair multiple times a day, it's only a matter of time before it's starting to show, and that is really stressful. It doesn't sound that stressful if you haven't experienced it, but if you are experiencing it, it's tremendously stressful. So let's talk about what is hair loss and what are the main causes of hair loss for men and for women. And then what can we do about it? I'll share what I have been doing about it that has made a big difference. What actually is hair loss? Sometimes it might seem like you're losing a lot of hair, but normally we lose 50 to 150 strands of hair every day normally. So that can still seem like a lot, 150 strands of hair, but that's still considered within the window of normal. But you yourself know if it's more than normal. There are some specific things in life that cause us to lose more hair. And here are some of the contributors to that. Things like exposure to toxins, medications, stress is a huge one, medical conditions, and heredity. We're going to talk a little bit about the inherited types of hair loss, and then we're going to talk about the effects of these external things on our hair. So for me in particular, what I was experiencing was stress that ramped way up after an extended period of high stress. I'm talking a few years, and then my stress even ramped up. Also, thyroid dysfunction, toxins absolutely have a lot to do with that, and we're all exposed to toxins. In my case, moving to a different city water supply changes the chemicals in the tap water. That also had a massive effect on my hair. And then, of course, hormonal changes. I kind of had beyond the trifecta. It was like check, check, check. Yes, I have the perfect storm. Sometimes it just takes one of those things that can cause hair loss, or if you have multiple things going on, that's when you have to start looking at it from a functional medicine lens, which is the root cause. What are the root causes of why this is happening? And then that's where you can really begin to make a plan, have a strategy to make a difference. So let's first talk about the hereditary basis for hair loss, because not everybody's hair loss is. Some people's is, but not everybody. So the term is alopecia. And there are two kinds of alopecia we're going to talk about. Alopecia areata, that is an autoimmune situation. That's when your body starts to attack your hair follicles, which causes them to fall out. With autoimmune health conditions, there are always three things going on. When it's autoimmunity, it's always the three-legged stool. First of all, there's a genetic component. Second of all, there's leaky gut involved, intestinal hyperpermeability. We've talked about that in the past. That is when the integrity of the barrier of your gut has been compromised, and that starts to allow things to pass through from your intestinal tract into your bloodstream that causes your body to react with an immune response and an inflammatory response. And that is the second leg of the three-legged stool of autoimmunity. The third leg is a trigger. Anything can be a trigger. Stress can be a trigger. A virus or bacterial infection can be a trigger. Anything that stresses the body can be that straw that broke the camel's back that sends us into an autoimmune condition. So alopecia areata, that is more of an autoimmune situation. The next type is androgenetic alopecia. That is hereditary. That's what we see as male pattern baldness and female pattern hair loss. That is different than alopecia areata. But all in all, alopecia is when we begin to lose our hair. In both men and women, hormones play a major role in the health of our hair. Hormonal changes in the body can be due to pregnancy, childbirth, thyroid conditions, menopause, and even changes in men's hormones. The good news is that when hair loss is hormonally related, and hair loss slows down or stops when hormonal balance comes back. Anyone who's a mom knows that during pregnancy, our hair gets amazing. The hair loss slows way down, so our hair gets thicker and fuller, and it feels awesome. And then after we have that baby, we go through a period of shedding and we lose so much hair, which can be stressful, but it's just normalizing back to pre-pregnancy. Now, along the same lines, for men, we've all heard that testosterone is more associated with men than women. We all have testosterone, but men have a much higher amount of testosterone in their bodies. And we know that that is one of the causes of male pattern baldness, is an imbalance in androgens. So testosterone is an androgen. There are two other androgens. There's testosterone, there's androstenedione, and there's dihydrotestosterone. Dihydrotestosterone is also known as DHT. When the body breaks down testosterone, it forms some DHT. When DHT is elevated, that is also related to hair loss. Some other causes I mentioned, in addition to heredity, autoimmune issues, and hormones, as I mentioned, stress, but also here are some things that are just low-hanging fruit. Irritating hair products, hairstyles that pull the hair tightly back like ponytails and buns, scalp problems, and nutritional deficiencies all can contribute to hair loss. We all experience some hair loss. Get this, by the age of 35, 66% of men have some noticeable hair loss. By the age of 50, 85% of men have noticeably thinning hair. The cause of their hair loss is that DHT, that dihydrotestosterone. And what DHT does, it causes the follicles in our hair to shrink, and it decreases the amount of hair we make, and the hair that we already have, it causes a shorter lifespan in them. So we see more fallout and less regrowth. That's DHT. Normally, as we lose hair, one hair will fall out of a follicle and a new hair will grow in its place. With male pattern baldness, because of this DHT, what happens is the hair will fall out sooner and there's no hair replacing it. So that's where we start to see a U shape, male pattern baldness. Female pattern baldness is a little bit different. Women start to get a widened part. right down the center of their hair. Speaking of hair, and for us, DHT can definitely play a role, but we have less testosterone, which means that's typically less of an issue for us. But our hair loss tends to be much more related to stress, toxins, deficiencies, thyroid conditions, and hormones. Think about all the hormonal changes we go through in our lives. We're young, we start our menses. Then, if we become a mom, we go through motherhood. That is massive hormonal change. Then we hit midlife and things start to go on a roller coaster. We're hitting perimenopause, followed by a drop off of estrogen and progesterone, which is life changing. All of these hormonal changes take a toll on our hair follicles, our hair strength, and our hair regrowth. And this is really interesting. Women with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because often they have higher levels of testosterone in their system, that can contribute to hair thinning for women. And science is showing that there's a similar condition to PCOS in men where their hormones change, their androgens are elevated, and that can be related to male pattern baldness. What is most interesting about this for both men and women is that insulin resistance tends to play a role in this. So making sure that our body has healthy blood sugar levels and healthy insulin levels is definitely helpful in the case of PCOS and the man's similar version to PCOS. So now that we know what causes hair loss, let's talk about what to do about it and how to stop it. I'm going to go through some general recommendations that are all very helpful. And then I'm also going to share, in addition to these, what I have done that has been very helpful. So the good news is that with certain lifestyle changes, you can slow or stop hair loss. Let's talk about the low hanging fruit first. If you're doing hairstyles that pull tightly on your hair, like I know when I go to bed at night, often I'll wear a scrunchie. And I probably used to pull it tighter, not thinking about it. Now I'm very mindful of it because I'm like, please stay in my head. Don't go. So if I wear a scrunchie, it's really loose on the top of my head. We want to avoid anything that causes follicle damage. Also, avoid high heat styling tools. Not only do they damage your hair, but if they get too close to our scalp, they can damage our scalp, hair follicles, and the hair shaft. So anything like a super hot hair dryer or getting those hot styling tools too close to your scalp definitely harm the integrity of your hair and the follicles. For brushing, research shows using a natural bristle soft brush is best for your hair. And here's why. This is super interesting. Natural bristled brushes, not plastic ones, help distribute the oils throughout our scalp and down our hair. Not only do they improve circulation and the health of our scalp and the balancing of the oil around the scalp, but they also make our hair healthier because it pulls that naturally occurring oil down through our hair. Just be sure, this is common sense, but not to brush too hard. And honestly, there's an old wives' tale that says 100 brushes a day is really good for beautiful hair. It makes sense because that improves the circulation. Anything that improves the circulation to your scalp is bringing nutrients and oxygen through blood flow into your scalp, nourishing those follicles, keeping them healthier to keep them alive and producing beautiful hair. Something else that can be really damaging is dyeing and bleaching hair. If you dye your hair at home, use a semi-permanent. The only one I know of on the market is called Natural Instincts. If you go to the salon, ask for a semi or a demi-permanent color. And here's why. Any permanent color will strip your color. So I'm a brunette, it'll strip it down. There are three colors that make up a brunette. Our hair has blue, red, and yellow. For you who've gone to the salon and gotten bad highlights that turned orange, or you've done it yourself, it's because the first color that comes off when we're lightening our hair is blue, which leaves the red and the yellow, which together equals orange. So you have to let it process a little bit longer to remove the red, and then you end up with the yellow. Now, you also have to be really careful not to over process. Whether you do it yourself or you go to a salon, you want to make sure not to over process your hair because that damages the hair and the follicles and the shaft, which causes breakage, but also can damage your ability to regenerate new hair. So that's if you lighten your hair. If you just put color on top to color roots, like I need to do in the near future, then that's when I use a semi or a demi-permanent instead of a permanent. Same reason. Remember, the highlighting, it'll lift the blue, then the red, and then get to the yellow. And eventually it'll go platinum if you pull all the color out. What permanent color does, even if you're a brunette, is it lifts color out. So it's lifting some of your natural color off, then it's depositing that color that you want back in. That definitely weakens the cuticle, it weakens your hair, which is why over time our hair can look pretty frizzy and burnt because it's lifting and depositing, lifting, depositing. So when you start losing that hair color, you're losing what was deposited and you're left with hair that's more straw-like. So what you want to do is look for a semi-permanent or demi-permanent and ask your salon for the same thing. Most people don't do that. All semi-permanent and demi-permanent do is they just deposit. They don't lift that color first. So if you're not going lighter, if you're a brunette who just wants more brunette, just ask your salon, would your semi-permanent or demi-permanent color cover my grays? That's what I do. And when I do it at home, your hairstylist is going to say never use box color, but I do. I use box color that matches my color, and I do that more often than I go to the salon. But there's only one that is semi-permanent that I have ever found. Now, if you find another one, please share because there might be more out there. Natural Instincts is an over-the-counter semi-permanent color, so it only deposits color. It doesn't lift and then deposit, which is less stress on your hair. So just make sure, don't hate me, don't go to the salon and spend all that money and then the results don't last. Have a good conversation with your hairstylist. Like, this is what I want. I want semi and demi-permanent color, either one, semi or demi. They're both deposit only. Just say, if I got this, would it give me the results I want and how long would it last? For me personally, it's better because when it fades, it's not fading to that stripped color. It's just fading to my gray, basically. So that is another thing, hair color. Make sure that when you chemically treat or lighten your hair, you're using the safest products possible for your hair. Next, use the right shampoo. Some shampoos strip your hair, those with sodium lauryl sulfate and other SLS derivatives. They tend to be within the first few ingredients. You don't want those. You want high quality, professional hair product, shampoo and conditioner that is clean. Some that I have are Amica, Living Proof. I'm pretty sure those from my research are pretty clean. There are others out there that are good as well. One more ingredient that can be really helpful is tea tree oil. Some shampoos have tea tree in them. That helps to reduce fungus on our scalp and bacteria, and it also improves scalp health. Some other oils that are very helpful for your scalp are rosemary and peppermint can be helpful as well. Keep in mind, if you use those, you're going to want to use those not neat. Neat means you just put the oil on and put in your hair if you color your hair because they can strip the color. Some things that really do help. Scalp massage. I have one of these in the shower. Have you ever seen little handheld round things with little points on the bottom that are rubber and you can just scrub and massage your scalp? When I wash or condition my hair, I'll use it to improve the circulation. And if you're going to massage your scalp, that can potentially cause new hair growth because you're bringing more blood supply, nutrients, and oxygen to your hair follicles. If you do a scalp massage before you wash your hair, coconut oil. Coconut oil has been shown to improve hair strength. In fact, there was a study done. I'm going to look down because I have to read the details so I remember them all. They show the impact of daily application of coconut oil on hair strength over 16 weeks and the tensile properties, meaning the strength of your hair. And the study showed that daily use of coconut oil improved hair strength and reduced hair breakage, suggesting that coconut oil can be really protective of our hair. Another great oil to use is castor oil. I have an episode coming up in the next few weeks on castor oil. Castor oil is amazing for so many things, but hair is definitely one of them. It helps with strength, it helps with growth. So stay tuned for the castor oil episode. So we've talked about reducing chemicals, using the right products, giving yourself a scalp massage, using the right oils, essential oils. If you use a little bit of rosemary with your coconut oil, even better because you're helping hair strength and scalp health. Same with tea tree, peppermint oil, those will all be very helpful. Let's talk about some things you can stop doing that will make a huge difference. First of all, stress management. We hear it all the time about every single health topic. Stress is incredibly damaging to so many things, but for today's topic, to our hair health. Stress is directly related to hair loss. We can't change the stress that happens to us. We have to change what we do with our body to increase our capacity and to increase resilience and our ability to look at things differently to bring down that fight or flight as quickly as possible. It's not so much the stressor that's the problem, it's the elevated cortisol from the chronic fight or flight that's the problem. So things like deep breathing, meditation, yoga, walking, reading, playing with your cats, your dogs, having time to talk to someone you love who brings you joy, either on the phone or during a walk or over a cup of coffee. Watching comedy. Comedy is huge for bringing down cortisol and getting us out of fight or flight. Anything that you have found that is helpful, that is a good self-care technique. It's going to be different for all of us. Some people say, oh, I love to meditate. It just calms me. And other people are like, I haven't gotten to the point where it does anything for me. Figure out what your best solutions are and incorporate those regularly. Ideally, at least once a day, whether it's before you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, or both. We can all take a minute to do deep breathing, even when we're in the middle of a difficult conversation or a meeting that causes stress. That's one thing we can all do that nobody even needs to know we're doing. Okay, so get this. Here's another thing that would help your hair and your whole health. If you're a smoker, quitting smoking. There's been a good bit of research on smoking and hair loss. First of all, it's thought to affect your circulation to your scalp, so the nutrients that get to your hair. So that's related to hair loss. There were a couple of really interesting studies. The first one was a systematic review that looked at 32 different studies on smoking and hair loss. They found that smokers, especially men, lost significantly more hair than non-smokers. So they had a significantly higher incidence of male pattern hair loss, which we tend to think of as primarily genetic. But this goes to show that epigenetics always come into play. And this is one epigenetic factor that is really significant. Another meta-analysis found that men who smoked at least 10 cigarettes a day had a significantly higher incidence of male pattern baldness, that androgenetic alopecia, than men who didn't smoke or smoked less than 10 cigarettes. And to be more specific, the odds of developing male pattern baldness were almost doubled in heavy smokers compared to those who didn't smoke or who were light smokers. Now, the last lifestyle piece I'm going to touch on is sun exposure. Sun exposure doesn't necessarily affect your scalp unless you get a sunburn, but it has been shown to cause a lot more breakage and it damages our hair shaft. So making sure you wear a hat when you're out, or even hair products with UV protection, are both very helpful for your hair health. Now let's talk about foods that help hair. First of all, a whole foods, nutrient-rich diet is always the best, whether it's for our hair, skin, energy, everything. So whole food-based, mostly organic diet is the best. The reason organic is because organic foods have many fewer chemicals, not just in the spray for herbicides and pesticides, but also even in the fertilizer. We know that many chemicals are endocrine disruptors, meaning hormone disruptors, and hormone disruption is one of the main keys of hair loss. Next thing, pumpkin seeds are amazing because they're high in zinc, and our hair needs zinc to be healthy. Also, if you suffer from hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, zinc is one of those minerals we tend to be deficient in. Wild-caught fish like salmon are important because they are anti-inflammatory. So we're bringing down inflammation. We're giving our body the good fats it needs to support hair growth. Green tea, that's another great one. It's very high in antioxidants that help to support healthy hair growth. Also, green tea is thought to stop the conversion of testosterone to DHT. Remember, DHT is the one that causes our hair follicles to shrink and stops new growth. And chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp hearts, all are high in healthy fats and omega-3s that support hair growth and make it healthy. Bone broth, always get organic bone broth because it comes from the bones. And animals that are exposed to a lot of heavy metals will harbor heavy metals like lead in their bones. So you want to make sure you're getting organic bone broth. But bone broth is amazing because it's high in amino acids, protein, collagen. All of these things are components or building blocks of good, healthy hair. And this one's interesting because you always hear good and bad about the next one, and it's caffeine. Caffeine is thought to help hair growth because it helps to stimulate hair shafts so that hair grows. And it also is thought to reduce that conversion to DHT again, a lot like green tea. So there, get your green tea, and that's a great way to get a little bit of caffeine, and it's doing double duty for good, healthy hair growth. High protein foods, high antioxidants, always super important for our hair. So think about it, a way of eating like a Mediterranean way of eating where you get protein at each meal, healthy protein options, lots of nutrition from vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and good healthy fiber. And research has specifically looked at the Mediterranean diet, the effect on hair. And what they found is that the Mediterranean diet may have protective effects against male pattern baldness specifically due to the fact that the nutrients are higher and it's an anti-inflammatory way of eating, which as we reduce inflammation, that helps boost our hair. Along those same lines, what foods should you avoid? Well, if we know that an anti-inflammatory way of eating helps boost hair growth, then we also know that an inflammatory way of eating can work against us and cause more hair loss. So some things that are inflammatory, trans fats. Trans fats are things found in margarine or margarine-like spreads, sometimes in fast foods like French fries, any kind of fried chicken nuggets, any kind of fried foods. Trans fats can also be in commercial baked goods, so the grocery store bakery muffins or cookies or something like that. Those often have trans fats. And not only do they cause inflammation in the body, they also increase the body's production of that DHT. Sugar absolutely increases DHT, but it also absolutely increases inflammation. So reducing sugar intake is also really important. Ultra processed foods, all those things that come in boxes and bags, they also promote inflammation and are not friendly to hair growth. Other dietary habits that have been linked to hair loss, crash dieting. So anytime someone massively reduces their caloric intake, that can lead to hair loss. Also, GLP-1 use, that could lead to hair loss because of lack of nutrients that are getting to the scalp and the hair follicle, and anything else that causes a rapid and extreme calorie restriction, that is also going to get less nutrition to our hair and cause us to be more prone to lose our hair. And lastly, low protein diets. If we don't get enough protein in our diet, we don't get enough of the building blocks. If you think of protein like a Lego structure, think of a chicken breast for dinner tonight, or salmon, or a hamburger, or whatever you're having. Think of that as a Lego structure. And so what the body does is it breaks out all the Lego pieces once it's digesting it, and it rebuilds new structures in your body. And some of that is used to make new hair growth. So let's talk about the best supplements for hair growth. First of all, piggybacking on low protein, healthy protein powder is an excellent supplement to help strengthen and improve your hair. In general, you're looking for 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, per day, 3 meals. If you're not getting that in one of your meals, protein powder as a protein drink is a great option. The next thing is collagen. Collagen can be a game changer for hair growth and for skin, nails, and joints. As we age, we make less collagen, so it can be a good idea to supplement with collagen. I'll link my favorite types of collagen. A couple supplements that can block the DHT conversion, the conversion of testosterone to DHT, are saw palmetto and pygeum. They both can also help with male prostate health as well. So those are an option, especially when we're looking at male pattern. We talked about the importance of pumpkin seeds because they're rich in zinc. Pumpkin seed oil can help reduce DHT formation. Another important supplement to look at is zinc. Zinc deficiency is related to hair loss. So making sure you're getting the right amount of zinc is definitely important. That also helps thyroid. So it's helping both hair, thyroid, which helps every cell of your body. B vitamins help to naturally thicken your hair. B7, which is biotin. If you've looked at any type of hair supplements, you've seen biotin for sure. That is one that literally helps to thicken your hair. So B vitamins always work in concert. I don't recommend going out and buying a B vitamin like biotin because B vitamins work synergistically. I prefer B Complex Plus from Pure Encapsulations. That's the one I use myself every single day. I'll link it in the show notes. The other thing to that one is the B vitamins are activated, meaning if you have the MTHFR genetic SNP, then being activated means they're methylated. Your body doesn't have to methylate them, but even if you don't, it's still a better product. So that's my favorite B vitamin. A couple of very helpful adaptogens are ashwagandha and rhodiola. Those both reduce stress, they improve adrenal function, which all helps to translate to better hair. Fish oil, omega-3 fish oil, 1,000 milligrams a day or a little more, 1,000 to 2,000. That helps to naturally thicken your hair and it's anti-inflammatory. It does so many other things. So fish oil is helpful. Aloe vera has been shown to thicken hair too. So these are some very interesting tidbits where different supplements have benefits to helping you have a healthier head of hair. Vitamins D, A, and E are all fat soluble. Those have been shown to help with hair growth and reducing oxidative stress, which is free radicals in your scalp and hair. Vitamin C is a very potent antioxidant, also helpful for those same reasons. Now, I just mentioned a lot of different vitamins. One option is to take a high quality multivitamin because it would have almost all of those things, plus a few more like selenium, which is helpful not only for thyroid health, but for hair health, and some other cofactors as well. So you could look for a multivitamin on your own that has these supplements that I've recommended to you. It would cost so much less than trying to get all those different vitamins. And a good one would be in the right ratios. And you're not taking 20 vitamins a day. Who wants that? None of us want that. We get pill fatigue, as we should. We're not meant to take that many vitamins. But I told you at the beginning that I would share what I have been doing. So for the past, let's see, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. For 6 months, I have been taking Nutrafol. Nutrafol is a multivitamin for hair health. I was seeing thin spots all through the sides. I got to the point where I was feeling desperate. By the time July hit, I was beside myself, honestly. So if you are going through this, I feel your pain. I know it firsthand. I knew it 19 years ago when I didn't know I had Hashimoto's, and I knew it from this past year. It's devastating. It's really scary, and you just don't know what's happening or why, which is why I'm doing this podcast today, because I totally feel your pain. Or if someone you love is going through this, it's really emotionally difficult. Someone may not share it because you almost feel ashamed of it, but there's no reason to feel ashamed of it, but you kind of do. And you look in the mirror and it's very upsetting. So I started using Nutrafol. They have different vitamins based on different stages of life. So I used the one for midlife, and it has been a game changer. Now, I still have some hair loss, but it's normal now. Before it was handfuls, and I was just terrified. I was terrified to run my fingers through my hair like this because I would end up with so much hair in my hands. It was awful. Also, I was starting to notice a widening of my part, too much of a part here. So getting their scalp serum, again, has been a game changer for me. I use that once a day before bed and I love it. So that is another option to check out that, again, I can't recommend highly enough. Finally, I want to wrap up by talking about some essential oils that can stimulate your scalp and stimulate hair growth. So if you don't end up going the serum route, there's some things you can do at home that will improve your scalp health and reduce hair loss. First of all, it's rosemary essential oil. Make sure you get a good brand, doTERRA, Young Living, Hopewell essential oils. You can order them online. They're all high quality, but rosemary essential oils is one of the top ones when it comes to help improve your hair thickness and growth. And this is super cool. It's been shown in studies to work as well as minoxidil, which is hair loss medication. Remember to double team it. A good quality rosemary essential oil combined with coconut oil. Put that together, rub that in your scalp. That is amazing for scalp health and hair health. Some others, I mentioned peppermint, lavender, thyme, sage, and cedarwood. All very good for scalp and hair health. Again, mix those into some coconut oil or some jojoba oil or castor oil. Amazing for hair growth. Really get that massage going so you get the circulation going too, and then wash it out with a high quality shampoo. So as we get ready to land this plane today on how to stop hair loss, and believe me, if you're experiencing this or someone you love is, share this episode with them because it can dramatically improve their lives or your life if you're experiencing this. Hair loss takes a huge toll on people, and we often underestimate the impact it is having on mental and emotional well-being. It can feel very devastating. And it often happens at a time of life where we're already not feeling as confident as we used to feel because other things are changing too. Our weight may be changing. Our bodies may be changing. We may not have the stamina and energy we used to have. We may feel achy or notice more wrinkles in our skin. And we may just be not feeling as good about ourselves. So keeping that in mind, that all these things can often hit as a perfect storm, and being very sensitive to that is important. But if you're experiencing hair loss, make sure you're kind to yourself because that is most important. Negative self-talk and being unkind to yourself will not help. It will only exacerbate the problem. If you're a woman, make sure to have your thyroid checked. Make sure that you're not starting to experience hypothyroidism or even hyperthyroidism, Hashimoto's, something like that. If you're going through hormonal changes, if you look at bioidentical hormone replacement, that can also help improve the situation. But that's not the only solution. By itself, it's not going to take care of things. If you have other things going on, like stress, toxins, nutritional deficiencies, medications, and finally, if this is something you're experiencing or someone you love is, keep in mind, even though it's frustrating and very upsetting, there are solutions. You don't have to go the pharmaceutical route. You don't have to go hair transplant route. But in many cases, these remedies that I talked about today can be a complete game changer and help your hair start to grow back thicker and fuller. So thank you for joining me today. This is a heartfelt thing that I feel very passionate about, especially since I have been there a couple times in my life and I know how bad it feels and what a relief it is when you stop seeing that kind of massive hair loss. And if you know anyone who would benefit from this episode, please share it with them as well. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button below so that we can get this information out to even more people. I look forward to talking with you next week. Until then,